Hi, everyone here and around the world. Thanks to all of you in 86 other countries this month of July 2022. Thanks for tuning in to this Earthfiles YouTube channel, no matter what your time zone. And if you haven't subscribed, please click on the red subscriber button in the lower corner and right corner, because you might be able to get us through 215,000 subscribers tonight. We're only a dozen away, and it would be great if you could help us break through right now, 15 of you, to 215,000 subscribers. This month of July has also brought these recent headlines. Quote, NASA may use satellites in hunt for aliens after surge in UFO sightings, reports Washington Post and Irish Independent, July 23, 2022. And the Pentagon is officially opening a UFO investigation office, reported by Live Science, July 23rd. This July 20th Department of Defense press release explained that, quote, on July 15th, 2022, Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks, in coordination with the Director of National Intelligence, the DNI, close quote, have created for the third time in recent months Pentagon UFO investigation offices that have included 1. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, or UAPTF. 2. The Airborne Object Identification and Management Group. They called it AIMSOG. 3. The latest one is now called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. Reading from the July 20th, 2022 Department of Defense press release, quote, U.S. government has taken a renewed interest in UFOs over the past several years, following the 2017 leak of 3 now famous video clips showing mysterious wingless aircraft soaring at hypersonic speeds past some dumbfounded U.S. Navy pilots. The U.S. Navy officially confirmed and declassified the videos in April of 2020, but has provided no explanation for what the mysterious objects might be. In 2020, the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence called for an inquiry into UFOs, or Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, UAPs, as the government prefers to call them. They cited concerns that there was no unified government approach for collecting and analyzing reports of such sightings. In June 2021, the Pentagon released a report on more than 140 UFO sightings by Navy pilots and concluded that there was no evidence of alien activity in any of these instances, close quote. You could add to this list of evolving UFO offices in the Pentagon the now historic 2007 to 2012 Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, that was directed by Luis Elizondo, who was also an analyst for the Defense Intelligence Agency. Some of what he learned about UFOs then, that included potential threats, he has been sharing with worldwide media the past several months and has written a much anticipated book. So it seems like the Department of Defense might finally try to seriously communicate with the public about the UFO problem it has had since World War II. 80 years of strict policies of denial about UFOs and ETs, even after they have retrieved many biological and artificial bodies and UFO craft brought down by American military efforts. From at least the FDR and Truman administrations onward, the War Office and then Department of Defense knew, as they know now, we humans are not alone in this universe. But over the last 8 decades, American intelligence and counterintelligence have been under orders to maintain, quote, absolute secrecy in all phases of operations related to UFOs, extraterrestrial technology, and extraterrestrial biological entities, close quote. And I am reading from this, the Psalm 101 Majestic 12 Group Special Operations Manual, entitled, quote, Extraterrestrial Entities and Technology Recovery and Disposal, Top Secret, Magic Eyes Only, close quote, by the Majestic 12 Group and printed with the stamp of the United States of America War Office in April 1954. In paragraph 3, security classification, the manual states, quote, all information relating to MJ-12 has been classified Magic Eyes Only and carries a security level 2 points above that of top secret. The reason for this has to do with the consequences that may arise not only from the impact upon the public should the existence of such matters become general knowledge, but also the danger of having such advanced technology as has been recovered by the Air Force fall into the hands of unfriendly foreign powers. No information is released to the public press, and the official government position is that no special group such as MJ-12 exists, close quote. And essentially, it's a policy that UFOs and ETs don't exist either. So always deny, deny, deny. And counterintelligence would have to do cover-ups. And that leads to a possible explanation for the 2 images sent to me a year ago in August of 2021 by a military aerospace source who had communicated for 3 years information about UFOs and ETs that in some cases I was able to corroborate with other sources. But after last week's July 20th, 2022 Earthfiles YouTube channel live broadcast, we received a message in viewer comments that has changed everything in a shocking way. It includes, why would the military aerospace source a year ago send me digital copies of these photographs when one is definitely from an autopsy of an American woman? The Earthfiles viewer High Tech wrote last week, quote, this is a photograph of a woman's autopsy. I believe she was a homicide victim. In the 2000s in my work, I had copies of the photo for an assignment, so I would recognize it from a mile away. And putting the photo as an image in a PC monitor is also a sneaky way to prevent a reverse image search, close quote. Ian, who manages the live chat and viewer comments, emailed me, quote, Linda, can Eric, our Earthfiles support computer tech, reverse search for a previous or original source of this image of the 4-fingered hand, which is most likely recognized by viewer High Tech to be a homicide victim, close quote. On July 24th, 2022 at 5:55 p.m., after doing an image reverse search, Earthfiles support wrote to me, quote, after reverse search on the 4-fingered hand, it looks like the original is an autopsy photo of Lisa McPherson, a member of the Church of Scientology. Here are links that we will add to tonight's comment. The top link has several autopsy photos. The second link is a full report about Scientologist Lisa McPherson's death and autopsy. And when you click on the oocities.org link, it takes you to this article entitled, A Wrongful Death, November 1, 2017, in Sword and Scale, episode 2015. On November 18th, 1995, 35-year-old Lisa McPherson was involved in a minor car accident. McPherson had been a dedicated member of Scientology since she was 18 years old, and one of her big interests were extraterrestrials that Scientology taught existed beyond Earth. Quote, as she got older, she began to exhibit mental disorder. In 1995, McPherson was put on 24-hour isolation watch by Scientology church officials. By December 1995, she had become so weak that she was unable to stand on her own. On December 5th, 1995, she began to gasp and had difficulty breathing. She was taken to a Scientology hospital where she soon died. Close quote. According to this autopsy report by medical examiner Joan Wood, quote, the cause of death was thromboembolism of the left pulmonary artery caused by bed rest and severe dehydration, close quote. The reddish-brown spots all over her body, not just her hand, were identified as cockroach bites. Quote, a criminal case was brought against the Church of Scientology for the wrongful death of Lisa McPherson, but as quickly as charges were brought, they were dismissed, close quote. Since remote viewing and working with remote viewer Buddy Bolton on the July 20th broadcast, I reached back out to him again about this unexpected discovery that the so-called four-finger orange-gray alien hand proved to be Lisa McPherson's December 6th, 1995 autopsy photograph of her left hand, not 2007 and 2008 artwork in Brazil. Did Lisa McPherson have some link between Scientology and UFOs and ETs?
Yes, and even the religion itself. At the very top level, it's very secret, but it has a whole ET background and stuff about alien souls being trapped here on Earth. And so when I got, she was having a relationship with someone very high in Scientology. And that person showed her real extraterrestrial stuff.
UFOs and ET photos.
Correct. And was talking about they have a program within Scientology to gather craft material, gather pictures, go to locations, do massive research through historical documents to see if they can find places where there could be material. I think that a certain agency had a connection to Scientology. And nowadays, oftentimes, the government uses private companies to keep things non-FOIA. People can't do Freedom of Information Act requests and get inside information. And they were working with the Scientologists. And so I think it was all connected in many ways. The information flowed both directions, from Scientology to the intelligence circles, from the intelligence circle to Scientology. The fakery, it may sound just wild and confusing to the audience, but this is exactly what the intelligence community does.
Since you were the remote viewer on the July 20th, 2022 broadcast, where I showed again the head and the hand, this was before any of this about the Brazilian artist, did you have anybody in intel, military, science, medicine, anyone contact you after the July 20th, 2022 program about the shoot down of a UFO to ask you questions or talk about what we used in that July 20th program?
Yes, and it wasn't just one. And just the fact that I was contacted speaks volumes.
There is some kind of a pattern that is unfolding with people who have been classifying reality for decades. And that is the part that seems to be disabling to humanity. And that the longer we go with all of these cover-ups, layers and layers and layers of lies, then I think the whole world is hurt.
Absolutely. Every system has an evolution and important moments that help that system get to the next level. And just like humanity needed to know that the universe didn't circle around us, Galileo's revelation, and that propelled humanity forward in so many different ways. Right now, with this population, with our limited resources, and all these other factors, humanity needs to know that this universe is like a rainforest filled with life, and we're the only humans on one little teeny tiny planet from Earth. There's so much we should do together as a species, and I think we would see ourselves in the others, and the others could see themselves in us, and we could know of our larger family. There's some people who want this information out. It's very schizophrenic, very much like humans. Some people want the truth out and some don't. I think the wall's cracking and the information is starting to flow. And I don't think that's exclusively because of the government's timetable. I think the others, the watchers, our friends, have a timetable of their own. They have been conditioning humanity. There have been different eras in ufology. It's all been of conditioning humanity. And this one era that we're in now, the UFOs have been conditioning the military a lot. The military see them a bunch of times to see that they're not dangerous. So when they do their next move, the militaries won't think of it as a negative attack or something. There have been people within the government who've been wanting to condition the public. But a lot of people can't even believe this stuff, can't believe that there's even extra life outside of our planet. If Galileo was shocking for the people, this is like 1,000 Galileo moments. And a lot of people in religions have to ask some major questions. I think it's a real wonderful time for humanity to mature. And we've been denied that for so long. You said something like trying to deny reality.
My question, why is reality classified?
Exactly. People who are doing it in the name of national security are actually hurting national security. When we see how few humans there are in the universe, how precious we are, borders will seem more stupid. Wars will seem inane. And we will communicate more as a people. And as a species, we'll have to confront issues together. There are giant solar flares that can cause such mayhem. There are global pandemics that could be a lot worse than this. And humanity needs to come together now. It's an obvious time in our history. And you can't stop it. And if you try to stop it, prevent the information that keeps us from coming together, you could be doing the exact opposite of national security interests.
Beautiful Earth. I now want to share with you some viewer comments that came just in the last few days, supporting as true the nanotechnology gray-colored skin suit worn by the alien types with the large black eyes. This viewer comment is from L. Johnson on July 26th. Quote, "Congratulations, Linda. You have figured it out. With the exception of the eyes, the grays do wear a gray-colored flight suit which covers the entire body, including the head, which protects them from radiation, gamma rays, and every other harmful thing deep space does to an organic body. Their eyes are protected from this by mechanical lenses, which cover the eyes. This complicated gray biosuit and black lenses protect their cream and orange colored bodies from the harmful effects of deep space for long periods of time, but they still need DNA and body fluids from humans and animals on Earth to replenish the damage that very long-term space travel does to their own bodies." Here is another viewer comment, and this one also mentions an orange-gray. "Thank you, Linda, for sharing. I have been puzzled since the 1980s over an encounter I had with orange-skinned beings. Yet the only information I could find at the time was Whitley Strieber's picture of a gray on the cover of his book, Communion. I have heard about gray-looking beings with an orange tinge to their skin since the early 1990s. Here is an example of an orange-gray sketched for me by an adult male in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania in 1992, after multiple abduction experiences. And I could say about this exact same drawing that in Colorado, a person that I knew in Colorado, upon seeing this sketch in my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 1, Facts and Eyewitnesses, called me and said she was shocked because she always thought everything was gray. And she told me a story about having a creature, entity, being like this color, she picked it out of the book, at her window. So that was two people who agreed on this kind of a coloring and a shape. And then another viewer wrote, quote, "I just remember floating down in a sparkly tunnel where I saw 5 of those little dudes in my room when I was 6 years old. I've looked at hundreds of depictions of classic grays, and Linda's orange-gray type is the most identical I have seen to those little things in my room." And I'm sharing this because now we are in a landscape where we are trying to find out exactly where is their support with evidence and facts versus efforts to sort of cause turmoil about material. And it is, to me, it is refreshing that some of you are writing in. There's a lot more, but I'm just focusing on just a few tonight, and then we'll do more at another point. It is the fact that unless I had raised the issue about the orange grays from the military aerospace source, then we wouldn't be getting this input from people who have had experiences with them. And that seems to be a facet that we can now say, put on the table. There appear to be types that are in the gray shapes, but with orange tinges or cream and orange skins. How much more can we learn about that? And the shocking development that my Earthfile support would do a reverse image search and end up finding the exact hand was an autopsy photo from a Scientologist in an autopsy done in December 6, 1995. That was about, what is that, 1995 from 2008. So that was 13 years before when the Brazilian artist says that he had done this work. 13 years before is the truth, is the fact, is the hard evidence. This was an autopsy photograph of Lisa McPherson, a Scientologist who was involved with things related to ETs, photos, materials, traveling to sites. That's what she was doing. So we don't have absolute crystal clear pictures, but we certainly in 1 week have come a bit further to a reality check on at least that fact. And that fact then immediately goes to the question, how many layers deep are counterintelligence operations moving on this particular Brazil, Los Angeles, Florida, having to do with real photos or pretend photos or whatever. And this is a fact that a hand of that Scientologist was used, but it was not created for anything. It was an actual literal autopsy hand. And if we knew all the truth, how many spokes going off in how many layers of counter intel and intel are involved around trying to suppress any information about our shooting down with masers or lasers UFOs that contain extraterrestrial biological entities, and we are the ones shooting them down, and that must be a subject that no one wants anybody to learn about. And the sensitivity around trying to muddy the waters about how many shoot downs have there been on the Peru-Brazil border. Lots and lots of questions, but at least we can put on the table tonight that is an indisputable fact about that hand. The autopsy photo of Lisa McPherson, Scientologist, died on December 5th, 1996. Autopsy, December 6th, 1996. And she was involved with UFO ET material in Scientology. Okay, let's change the atmosphere and the vibe and go to Ian, find out what we have in comments from you guys, and knowing that we are so close, only a dozen clicks away from going through 215,000 subscribers, see if you can help us tonight do that. Ian.
Good evening, Linda. Thank you for reporting and updating us. We've now got viewers checking in tonight from India, Romania, Saudi Arabia, Panama, and Kenya, in addition to those 86 countries that you mentioned earlier during the month of July.
Welcome everybody in every language. I would love it if this whole planet could communicate more directly in our sort of recognizing each other as a fellow being in a complicated planet now, in a complicated solar system, and we really need each other to be able to keep evolving forward. And this is wonderful that we have these many countries tuning in, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're just under the 215,000. I think any second now that's going to go over to 215,000 subscribers.
Yell out when it happens. Go ahead now with comments, questions.
Of course, there are lots of questions from the audience. The audience are telling us that they are shocked and surprised that the image showed an actual hand from a real autopsy, and we've got plenty of people who are chipping in with that and saying, for example, it's incredibly disrespectful to edit a dead person's hand like that. Yeah. As an editor, I would not have touched it, says one person.
Well, the amazing thing is, for those of you who want to see the autopsy, the only shot that I'm using is what we were showing as being one was supposed to be a gray, orange or orange gray. Remember July 6th, and now it went to this controversy by a Brazilian saying that he had sculpted and made this artwork, and then to find out that it is an autopsy photo matches, everything in it is provably matches. And that is what was used. And I understand that there may even have been in Brazil some sort of body that was used in some of what has been described. But I'm not showing the list of all of the autopsy photos in respect for YouTube not wanting anything like that in, and you don't want to get a strike or get your YouTube channel down because you're showing proof of something. But those two links, that's why I had them on that frame. The OO Cities is the one that has the autopsy, a series of autopsy images that include the hand and the arm, and then it is the second I believe it's the second link, that goes to a very well-written, very deep, rather long article about the whole sad, tragic end of Lisa McPherson. And so that to me is like bringing a new ballast to this whole issue of we get information from people, you, I, me as an investigative reporter and longtime journalist, and you begin to build up, you think, a trust. And then when something like this happens, you wonder if this revelation that this was a hand in an autopsy series of photos, if I hadn't learned it now, what else would have come my way that was either not honest or trying to skew something? So I take this personally, I think this is a strengthening education about what all has happened around this, what was just going to be the first photo of a orange-gray hand and a head. The head is still a question mark, even in Earthfiles Support's mind. He's very analytical and very critical, and he did a side-by-side comparison in which it is very true that the eye pattern in the, we'll call it the alleged real photo versus the 3D created head, the eyes do not match. And you can do an examination and make a comparison, and you will see that. So whatever is the actual truth about the, we'll call it the long head shot, if there is anybody listening who has any more information, the true information, because you can have two things simultaneously. You can have a worked over photograph that is not the literal image of a orange-gray extraterrestrial, but it is going to be put out in the public so that it can be criticized if something happens and the government feels like they're losing control of a story. But that does not mean that there isn't a real extraterrestrial, sort of orangish-gray being or civilization or species that looks exactly like that photo. And as Buddy pointed out, that's counter-intel. You use what you have as what you're trying to hide. You use factors that you can say, this is false. It's not, but you say, here's an example of why it's false, so that everybody goes away and you have protected the actual true photo that is the orange-gray. And making those distinctions and proving them, that is the challenge. So I'm saying to any of you who think that you're working in an agency, because there are a lot of people, it's very clear to me, in military and aerospace who are watching this Earthfiles YouTube channel on Wednesday nights. And you are the people that I hope, if there is solid information that can move this story forward further on these orange grays and other aspects of other types of extraterrestrial biological entities, I welcome information that can come through FedEx or hard mail or ProtonMail, and that at least we keep building like a Pointillism painting. The dots which are solid, the dots that are perhaps, the dots that are murky, the dots that are wrong. And out of all of this, as we keep going forward, hopefully more and more clear pictures are going to emerge. and that one of the next ones that I hope that we're going to hear about by the spring, and that it would definitely then prove that the military aerospace person was talking with some information, and that is, will the James Webb be focused at the TRAPPIST-1 solar system, and will they then show the image of atmospheric and chemical composition, and then say, this is a habitable planet and it has X amount of water and this could be habitable, and then eventually that they will announce, we have now confirmed there is an intelligent civilization on the X planet from the sun in the TRAPPIST, and it could be another solar system, but that may very well be the way we will finally get the headline that we're not alone. Everything out far enough to be sort of it's safe distance, then they start filling in gaps, while all of us who have been trying to work in this difficult beat for a long time, like myself, 43 years, we will know that extraterrestrial biological entities have been interacting with this planet for at least 270 million years. And that sometimes seems almost like a laughable joke when you are with people who don't even think, looking at the current James Webb photograph of at least 1 million, maybe, galaxies. If there was this life on one planet in one solar system of a million galaxies in that one photograph, aren't the odds just exactly as Buddy says? This universe is like a rainforest filled with life. And there are all these efforts to classify our reality. The reality is we are a conscious life form in a universe filled with other conscious life forms. But forces are classifying reality on Earth. That's what it comes down to. Reality is classified. And I sure do hope that that changes in the next year or two. It could help all of us on the Earth, I think. And I would like to hear more from anybody who has a professional background, who knows that what I'm saying is the truth, and that I'm asking for more supportive evidence whenever it's possible. Now, from there, Ian, what have you got again?
Okay, first of all, I want to say we've just crossed the 215,000 subscriber barrier. Congratulations.
Good. Thank you, you guys. This is a place to come where we are struggling to report the truth and facts and evolve everything that I can come up with in terms of investigations about the true relationship between us on Earth and other intelligences, and with this universe and the physics of this universe, and trying to understand how we have conscious relationship with this conscious universe. Why is it so difficult to have this be a huge fact on Earth? Thank you, Ian. Go ahead.
In the comments tonight, even though this was a difficult subject, please don't stop going deeper. And
Thank
also,
you.
Cristina Ledesma Jimenez says, we're all trying to connect the dots in our reality. Let's work together.
Yes. Yay. Absolutely. All right, Ian, what else have we got?
Okay, well, we need to do the super chats, Linda. So I'm going to announce the super chats now in reverse order. Here we go. Daniel Gomez, Luis Canjara, Sonia, Spinach Chili, Cristina Ledesma Jimenez, Renee Martin, Ray McBride, Flower Lioness, Jessica Rodriguez, Liz Gaspare, Jennifer Hall, Traz, Linda De Lembo, Shane Payne, and Moonbird. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Moonbird. Whether you're at the first or the last or the middle, thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, Linda, we've got some other questions here. Moving on with these. Linda Renee says, I don't think we are the only humans. I think there are human populations on other worlds. It's something that you've touched on previously, I think even with Terry Lovelace and his experiences.
Yes, and one of the more outstanding reports that I got, and it is in my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness. And this was a description in which the man realizes that he's being introduced to the concept that Earth had this huge, long era of dinosaurs. The ETs show him in his mind's eye all of these scenes of dinosaurs. And then the ETs show him that they have a whole other planet where either before, during, or after, whatever, if the asteroid impact 65 million years ago is what took out the dinosaurs, his insights from the ETs he's dealing with is that they were basically in charge of what was happening, and that they took a lot of dinosaurs from Earth before the impact and put them on a planet that the ETs are interacting with and overseeing, and that there's nothing on that planet but dinosaurs. And then he got the mental impression. They do the same thing. They have made Homo sapiens sapien through genetic manipulation of already evolving primates on Earth. We are the latest model. And that where we think that maybe a population in Mesopotamia or going back further, maybe it died out by drought or something. He said, they showed me that they are the ones that manipulated DNA in Bhutan, in the Himalayas. And they were overseeing the evolution of a human-type species in Bhutan. And then, and the way he said it, the ETs telepathically telling him that the way they do their biological experiments is they will pick a peninsula, an island, a high altitude, a low altitude, something where they will say, okay, we're putting, let's say, experiment 1 on the Yucatan Peninsula, and we're putting experiment number 2 in Bhutan, and we're doing experiment number 3 in the Vietnam jungle, and so forth. And they have isolations because they don't want to have cross mixes of whatever it is they're experimenting with. And he said he was shown, so I'm giving you a word story from what he was being shown in his mind by the ETs, that in 850 AD, that it wasn't drought and it wasn't a war, that the ETs wanted to take their Bhutan experiment and put it in, had taken their Bhutan experiment and had put it in the Yucatan Peninsula. And then by 850 AD, for reasons that are not clear, the ETs wanted to move their 850 AD Bhutanese experiment that had become the Mayans. The Bhutan experiment, because I don't have a year for when they took those, they put them in the Yucatan Peninsula and Belize and Guatemala, according to this story. And then in 850 AD, the ETs overseeing this wanted them taken, just like they had done with the dinosaurs, to another planet that is now populated, or a good portion of it, by the Mayans. And I remember talking to him, and he said, how many cultures that we think have died out have actually been taken to other planets by the ETs doing experiments on the Earth and all over the place. And when they get something in one of their laboratory planets like Earth, and then they want to separate it out from the other experiments, they take them and put them on another planet. So that comes back full circle to this good question. If we knew the truth, how many solar systems with habitable planets within, say, 100 light years, if you drew a circle around our sun and went out 100 light years, and that's not very far in this huge universe, but how many solar systems with planets would have experiments from Earth? It's a fascinating question. I had a long discussion with the man who is in my book about this very issue, and the idea that if we knew all the truth, that there could be an entire planet that would be covered by dinosaurs. Suddenly, the whole universe, it stops being just the magnificent lights at night. It stops being, I wonder who lives in planets around Sirius, Procyon A and B. For me, it makes the entire universe, as I look at it at night, feel like I am, they are, we are all part of an evolving, huge experiment, that it may be a holographic dimension, that this entire universe may have been made and is being projected to test that one thing, and that is biological consciousness. And that it is maybe a difficult and challenging experiment, but that out of it, it may be that biological consciousness is the only consciousness that has souls. Unknown, but there is a reason, I feel strongly, that there is a reason for a lot of interest in manipulating DNA to create humanoids and a bunch of different ones to put on different planets. I think that is a true big picture, but now how do we prove it? So I want to live forever and explore and see what's there. Go ahead, Ian.
On the super chats tonight, Lewis Kanjara says, what do you think about the reincarnation and interdimensional beings? Are those aliens? I have very weird experiences from ICU.
Can you ask him to send me? Has he given any indication to you that you could read about what the nature of his high strangeness was?
Just asking in general at the moment, but Lewis Kanjara, if you're out there, can you please send us more details? You can send it to Earthfiles at earthfiles.com. We're always interested to learn more of your experiences.
Yeah, and then Ian can read what you send on the air, and then I can respond with whatever I've been exposed to. I think that's fun when we can do that. So go ahead and let's hope we hear from him.
That's right. I think basically he's just asking about the general reincarnation into interdimensional beings. A lot of people in the contact experience have also had experiences of past lives, and also they've had experiences of near-death experiences, often in the ICUs too.
Yes, and the near-death experiences and the memory of reincarnative lives, I personally think are the flip side of the same coin. And that one of the big discoveries I think will eventually be on Earth, if there isn't nuclear war or some insane destruction, is that you could get to a point where you can have conscious biological life and be able consciously to weave through the memories of other lives as realities, total realities, and that you can get a picture with more insights if we were on a planet where talking about the other lives that you remember were acceptable and everybody could do it, it might be a way to explore the past, the present, and even in the future as a civilization that tried to unite with its soul knowledge, so that soul knowledge, past, present, and future, not confined to a specific timeline, could contribute to the evolution of a civilization instead of, no, reincarnation is not real, no, there are no souls, no, life is just a fluke, when you're dead, that's the end of it. I disagree with that particular hypothesis. And that's why this exploration into near death and into past lives and into human abductions comes always to this very rich, complex, many of the same words from people, where they feel like everything that they were, all of the lives, all of a sudden are being shown to them as intimately connected to the current human biological life. And I find that fascinating. I would love to know more. And this is where Kenneth Ring did the Omega Project book. And that is where he put on one side of the page, here are the characteristics of near death. Here are the characteristics of human abductions. And the whole book, you end up that what you are reading about NDEs and what you are reading about people in the human abduction syndrome, they are so similar, and that by the time you get through the book, what is resonating in you, we humans still do not understand what we are. We don't understand how powerful the soul is, and that there is a direct relationship between cycles of life and where we are currently in the biological containers that we're in now. So nobody has all the answers, but it is these directions that I think you have the more and deeper and most fascinating material that helps people on both NDE sides and abductions come to terms with the fact that they are not going crazy, that this is not isolated, that the frequencies in both sides happen to so many people who then feel like there is something vital about being able to see and understand their past lives in order to understand their current life and where they may be going in evolution. So, Ian, I hope that there will be others who can contribute on that subject.
Yes, okay. That's we're looking forward to hearing from other people with their experiences, and also from Lewis if he gets back in touch with us. I want to read you some comments now from the chat. Marion Smith says, we get information, and as a community we vet it out. And Peter Carroll says, the search for truth is a struggle.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, especially when you're on a planet and power brokers want to be able to classify reality. Go ahead.
Okay, we've got a question here from Megan Murphy. She says, here's a question for Linda. Where would you recommend a person who has experienced high strangeness for most of their life go to start getting some personal answers?
Well, have you seen the couple of shows that I have done on Opus? It was founded by a man who was in MUFON, and he wanted to try to concentrate on abductions, abductees, and you know what we should do, Ian, write this down. We should keep the contact information for Opus on our Earthfiles YouTube channel page at all times. And then I could say you can go to this because I don't have that information right in front of me. But let's promise between you and Earthfile support, let's promise that we will get up, and it'll be a constant link at the Earthfiles YouTube channel after tonight, where all of you who would like to get information, see if you could match yourself in the city that you live in with a hypnotherapist that becomes recommended through Opus. They are very trustworthy. They really want people to be helped. And so that's a way that Earthfiles YouTube channel could be a crossroads where you could come for that information and then reach out. So Ian, let's just plan to do that.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. I'm familiar with Opus, and I've sat in on a few of their international experiencer link-up groups as well. So I will do that.
Okay.
Okay, Linda Winkler says, please keep doing deep dives. And the Drudge Tick says, extreme skeptic, but a fan of your work. Thank you for lending sincerity and respect to the topic, Linda.
Thank you. It matters a lot to me. Thank you.
Linda, do ETs have religions? What do they say of our religions?
It is one of the more fascinating questions that I personally am doing my own private reading. The tall whites have been described by Charles Hall, my aerospace military source, and a couple of others, not many, as being spiritual. Now, the word spiritual, I think to most of us means that you have a concept of a large, all-encompassing force from which we all evolved and emerged. Whether you call it God, the divine field, whatever word. And that, to me, I guess, is the foundation concept of spiritual. A relationship between the biological and the non-biological. The biological has a shelf life. The non-biological has no shelf life. The closest sentence that always comes to me as being the context in which to ask about spirituality in ETs is that Nag Hammadi, the thought that dwells in the light. I feel it is profoundly true. But what is the relationship of all of the different non-humans that we have described through thousands of abduction reports, maybe in the millions? What is their relationship to that sentence? The thought that dwells in the light. If you start there as a lens, I don't know, outside of the government, having people who have talked telepathically with Greys and been on film, and knowing that the Nordics and the tall whites have been working with us since, I think that it's true, since Eisenhower did some sort of a treaty back in 1954. I'm sure that the government has a lot of information about this. But the one thing that military witnesses have contributed is how strict the tall whites are with any of the humans on a military base or anyone who has access to their, they have many underground bases. They have many underground bases on this planet. They will not let humans cross certain lines to protect their children. They love and protect their children, and they love and protect each other, as I understand it, as, I don't know if you would call them pairs. I don't know if you would think of them as spouses, but the male and the female work together to protect their children. So that to me is sort of like lesson number one, where you would begin on the tall whites' relationship to their own blood and flesh in their offspring. But if they have been in solar systems for, let's say, who knows, 1 billion years, and we are only, as a human species, we're only 45,000 years old. That was the crossfade with Neanderthal, another strong and, yeah, I guess I want to say humanoid experiment. And for some reason that's never been clear to anyone I've ever asked, why did Neanderthalensis, was it phased out and Cro-Magnon Homo sapiens sapien took its place? There's so much we don't understand and don't know. And a lot of it is because we as a human species have been denied reality for centuries. We have been denied. It has been classified. The reality of this planet has always had other intelligences. I'm convinced of it. So the excitement now is, are we stumbling toward a brand new doorway where maybe by April of 2023, that the James Webb Remarkable Telescope will be used to say, well, this planet looks like it could be habitable because. And even if it starts there, you and I and so many others on the earth know that is not the beginning discovery. We are not alone in this universe. We are babies in this universe. And that part of the excitement to me is that the babies are now facing a very difficult teenage to adult grow up. We have got to grow up as a species so that we actually can stand foot to foot with beings like the 8-foot tall whites that can have their minds move through timelines, who know how to do the Albuquerque tunnel work that we're dependent upon them to do. How exciting it would be if there could begin to be a communion, as Whitley Strieber wrote so long ago, a true communion in which Homo sapiens sapien could contribute to them and they could contribute to us in an open way. And that if they need blood and tissue from Earth for whatever reason, that there could be agreements between ETs and ranchers about, you can take this much, but you give me niobium, you give me diamonds, you give me gold, you give me barter. And all of those facets are out in front of us. And all we're waiting for is the official sanction from the power brokers that we can now begin to relate to extraterrestrial biological entities as conscious life filling this universe, and that we, for the first time, are going to have news segments on all of the stations about what's going on Mars, Ganymede. It's coming. And I find it exciting, not threatening. Even if there are hostiles, I am convinced that the Nordics and the tall whites are helping humans. So on that note, I am glad that I have been able to bring you that important fact in the earlier part of this program that is so astonishing. And I hope all of you tonight will take it as, my God, when you really, really investigate and you really, really are trying to get to hard evidentiary facts, sometimes it just goes 180 degrees opposite of what you thought. And that's why we have to continue helping each other with hard evidence, testimony, evidentiary material. And I hope that you will always think of Earthfiles and our coming together on Wednesday nights as the place and the efforts to do that. Thank you. I love you guys. And I'll see, oh, wait. One last very, very, very important. Brad, my colleague in editing, he's taking 2 weeks off to visit his son. And I want to visit my daughter and granddaughter in Philadelphia. So we are both going to take the full month of August from the 1st to the end off. But the Wednesday nights, they will be 4 of our most popular shows. So tune in for next week and the week after and the week after and the week after for something you may have missed, because we have really covered some, I think, exciting subjects. And then I will come back live in the first Wednesday in
September 7th.
September 7th. Thank you, dear Brad. And back with more and more, because I never stop reading, I never stop learning, I never stop doing phone interviews, I never stop reading all of the letters and the boxes of material that all of you send. And I love you for it. I love having this dialogue. And you know what, you guys? Always raise your fist to truth and never give up. I'll see you September 7th.
Turn on closed captions for YouTube videos by clicking the white CC button on the lower right. The default language for Linda's videos is English. If you would like to see the captions in another language, click on the white settings button next to the CC button. Select Subtitles CC and then select Auto Translate. Select a language, and the captions will now appear in that language.
Sort of gone through, and they will hold their heads. I never had a cat do that before. And they'll pull against the comb, helping me get out snarls. And I think it's the best they've ever been.